Everyone. Thanks so much for coming. All right, everyone. Thanks so much for coming. My name is Adam Kieffer. I'll be your co-facilitator. I'll be the lead on this session, but with me is Elizabeth Bennett. Would you just say hi real quick, Elizabeth?
Hey everyone, thanks for joining us.
We do have someone in the chat who can't hear, but I'm assuming everyone else can hear us okay. Can you give me a thumbs up if you can hear me and see me okay? See the slides? Okay, great. Awesome. Well, this session, thank you so much for coming. We'll have a good hour together here. And for those of you watching on YouTube in the future, you made a good choice. Thanks for watching. This session is titled Digital Literacy and Digital Resilience. And before we even get started, I wonder how many of you have heard the phrase digital resilience. I know we're probably all familiar with the phrase digital literacy, and for some of us, digital resilience might be a new phrase, and so we're going to talk a lot about that in today's session. So I hope that's helpful for you. All right, so this session is for admin, coordinators, teachers, and so hopefully you're in the right place. Got a couple objectives. We're going to talk about all things Northstar, talk about digital resilience, and then kind of compare it to digital literacy. Explain why, discuss why teachers should be teaching both of these things, these topics, these skills, and then give some examples and strategies for teaching in some special contexts. So those are objectives for today. Hopefully those sound interesting to you. All right, let's jump right in. Northstar, I think most of you should know this site or this phrase or that logo. Somebody want to turn on their mic and just tell us what are all the things you can do or find here? Or feel free to use the chat too. What can you find here? What can you do here? Anyone want to turn on their mic or use the chat? Tech assessments, yes. Digital literacy skills assessments, yes. What else? While you're thinking about that one, my second question is, what's the connection between the content of this site and AB instruction? Online learner modules. Thanks, Elizabeth. I know you know the answer, Elizabeth. You're just trying to be nice and helpful. Thank you. Um, Assessments. Yes. Curriculum guided lessons. Great. Yep. Can anybody tell me a connection between what's there and what AB instruction that happens in Minnesota? Again, you can turn on your mic too. This is a small group here. All right, well, let's just jump right in then. The four main things you can find on this site are standards, Northstar Digital Literacy Standards, the assessments, and the assessments are broken down in two types, proctored. If they're proctored, it means learners and even you can earn certificates. If they're unproctored, they're called practice tests, and anyone, even the public, can take them. There are the Northstar online learning modules. So they prepare students to pass the assessments. And then there's the curriculum, which is great. And I feel like this is the most underused part of Northstar. And believe it or not, and you should know, hopefully you know this, you have free access to all of this for all of your learners. Unlimited access. It's part of every consortium's technology fee. And so it's free to use, free for your learners. Just real quick here, I might link out to the standards. Here's a link to the PDF, for example. Oh, and I just want to say at the top of this session, all of the links and everything I'm going to be talking about are in the slides. So those are in the participant folder. And Elizabeth will also chat out a document in the chat that contains most of the links to the resources. So you don't need to jump out and take a look. You can just feel free to kind of watch my slides and watch my screen. Everything that I'm talking about, well, you can explore later. But here's what if you've never actually looked at them, this is kind of what they look like here. Let me see if I can zoom in for you a little bit. So there's a bunch of different topics, okay? And each topic has its own assessment. And then each assessment or topic has, around this many skills, okay? And it's the best place to start for teaching basic digital literacy skills. It's very tacit, it's very clear, it's very complete. It's easy to understand, and I think pretty easy for many students to understand as well. And you might even be challenging yourself on some of this. I have passed all these myself, just because I've taught these things in classes over the years. And I challenge you and encourage you to do the same thing. Take them just for fun. See how you do. See where any gaps may be in your knowledge. So that's kind of what the standards will look like. This is the PDF version. They're also on the website. All right. But what's the connection? Well, you can see here I think this version of the standards is relatively new. It's pretty cool. And you can see digital literacy is here over on the right. There's Northstar. So it's 1/3. There's the College and Career Readiness, also known as CCRS, and Transitions and Integration Framework, which is also known as the TIF. So all three of these things are an integral part of what we should be doing in all of adult ed. Okay. So the summary of that is just to say that hopefully all of us are kind of organically embedding some of those, not all, relevant digital literacy skills into every class that we teach, no matter what the content is. There's always a way for us to improve, and actually a mandate for us to include digital literacy skills instruction. So I want to just pause right there just for a second. Hopefully you've seen this graphic before, but any questions about the connection between Northstar and what we do every day in class? Or any thoughts even? Yes, again, this is Minnesota. Thank you, Astrid. This is Minnesota specific, but they are used worldwide. Northstar is used worldwide by many different organizations.
And the comment about Minnesota specific, Adam, was the free access to all of the Northstar resources.
Thank you. Thank you for clarifying. Here's a quote from someone who took the Northstar Foundations course, which I would just take 2 seconds to plug right here. It's a free course in Canvas, open to Minnesota educators, and you can learn all about all the stuff that I'm talking about here just in 5 minutes, and especially the Northstar curriculum. I highly encourage people to check out the Northstar Foundations course. But it's this instructor is just saying like, hey, if you're doing writing, let's use Google Docs, right? Let's do a little bit of typing. Whatever you're doing, whatever level, there's always an opportunity to embed digital literacy skills. All right. We're going to pivot to talk about, I'm doing just a short bit on Northstar because I really do feel like most of us have touched Northstar in varying degrees, and there's so much information. I would just also point people to our YouTube channel. Northstar also has their own YouTube channel, and there's tons and tons of just excellent short how-to videos that you can find there. So it's not a Northstar training anyway, just saying this is an essential part of what we do and should be doing. All right, moving on to the bulk of what this session is about: digital literacy and comparing and contrasting with digital resilience. Well, first, let's talk about digital literacy. That's the phrase I feel like most of us are the most comfortable and familiar with. Okay, there's varying definitions out there but this is a really good one. This is from WIOA, which hopefully we're all familiar with. But the skills associated with using technology, and then there's some verbs here: find, evaluate, organize, create, and communicate. Okay, and then there's a second piece about digital citizenship. But I think those verbs are very clear, like very, very what's the word I'm looking for? Very concrete. All right. However, what's missing is the capacity in this definition, or in this kind of take on digital literacy, is the capacity for navigating transformation and continuously learning new technologies, right? Once you learn something, once you learn how to do something on an app on your phone, well, of course, 3 months later, they're going to do an update and your favorite icon is moved on your app, or you go up to file and there's 3 more options, or your something has moved, or the icon has changed. Tech companies love to change stuff and move stuff and add stuff and remove stuff and not tell us about it, and just expect that we're going to be able to figure it out. And so this is the piece of digital skills that digital resilience covers, okay? That constant change, that constant transformation, and helping our adult learners to really gain confidence. So what is digital resilience? It's having an awareness, skills, agility, confidence. Those are some keywords I want you to kind of zone in on. Improving our capacity to problem solve. So this is all the higher order thinking skills, right? Some of that more philosophical take on attitudinal stuff. It's less about which button to push where, and more about developing the confidence and awareness and schema to move from just a specific skill to more broad awareness and of digital skills and digital on the tools we use, all the digital tools we use. So that's kind of a nice definition there from Digital US Coalition. Again, improving capacity to problem solve, upskill. This is moving from just specific skills to having a broader understanding and confidence. So again, resilience is about developing that ability to navigate all of the things that are always changing, right? E-commerce, telehealth, jobs, workforce, automation of everything, all support, right? It's being automated more and more and more. The requirements just to apply for a job are getting more and more technical, and so these are the things that we're hoping to build into our adult learners. So again, it's a shift. It's a shift from specific skills and to building confidence and ability, wider range of abilities. Just gonna pause right there just for a second. Any thoughts about that? And I'm not saying we can never stop teaching digital literacy skills. What this idea is, it's digital literacy skills and, okay, digital literacy skills plus taking what we know, what we need to teach, and then adding this other layer. And we're going to get into some strategies in a minute, but just hitting right here, just pausing right here for a second. Does anyone have any questions or thoughts about the kind of the shift or the idea of digital resilience? Feel free to turn on your mic if you'd like. How about this? Give me a thumbs up if you're good, or you're okay, or something in the chat. Just let me know that you're out there. One from Astrid. All right. Thanks, everybody. Great. All right. Right on. Appreciate it. So what we need to make this shift, like over the years, I feel like I've had, oh, Helen, great. Thanks. Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Both of you hit it. Thanks, Elizabeth. Yeah. One of the things needed is professional development around how do we do this? Okay. And so, because it's less concrete. So I'm going to give you a couple little examples here in the next few minutes, and as a way to just kind of get started on this idea. I would say first off, oh yeah, Laura, great. Thanks for chatting in. You guys can read Laura's chat there. Exactly. So I'm going to just talk about this, right? So many of our adult learners, or even our colleagues, or even myself sometimes, I feel like one of the main obstacles to overcoming or to learning new digital skills is fear, right? Well, what did they fear exactly? I feel like they fear breaking something. Okay, I'm gonna break this. I'm gonna get a virus. I'm gonna delete this forever. And then there's the fear of making a mistake. I think we all have this across, or many people struggle with fear of learning, right? They don't really realize they can learn, and there's this fear. A lot of people have fear of learning in math, for example. That's been well documented. But fear of making a mistake, fear of embarrassing yourself in front of your kids, your classmates, other people, fear of being left behind. And so that fear paralyzes some people, and they just kind of give up and they don't want to try. So for me, teaching these skills over the years, these are the fears I see the most. And I like to really acknowledge them and acknowledge that they're in the room in my classroom. I like to acknowledge them in my own life when I'm being honest with myself. Um, so just right off the top, some helpful phrases I think to combat this fear to use with learners is, I have a list here, but I'm sure that you can come up with a bunch of others, but it's okay. You can't break it. It's not 40 years ago where you delete a file or you hit something and it may be actually gone forever. That's not true. That's really not true anymore. You can't break it. You can undo. You can recover. You can delete it and get it back. And then you can switch something back, right? All the apps and things have things you can switch on and off, notifications on and off, right? You can fix it. Reminding people to slow down. Let's try it again. It's okay. You know, as an instructor or with a volunteer, hey, show me what you did. Can you talk me through exactly what you did? And we'll just kind of, well, maybe we'll back up. Maybe we'll undo it together. If students have questions, they freeze, they don't know what to do, maybe putting the question back on them. What do you think you should do? Encouraging them to work with their own schema, their own knowledge base. Just reminding people that I think this goes for any learning across. This is universal for humans. Making mistakes is how we learn everything. Just reminding them that that's the reality. That's how we learn. And then sometimes I like to remind people to, be present in their body. And if they're feeling stress in their body, to just take a deep breath, couple breaths, take your hands off the computer, take your eyes off the device, put it down for a minute. Let's take some deep breaths and then refocus, get a drink of water, get a drink of tea. Okay. Come back and try again. This is a strategy that I've used with my son when he was younger, when he would get frustrated with video games. We'd tell him, okay, we hear you're frustrated. Why don't you take a break? Video games are supposed to be fun. Play a different game or take a break and then come back to it in 5 minutes and see if you still want to keep playing the same game. And he's 16. He just turned 16 now. And This has worked. We had to model this and show him this, but he doesn't have the same kind of frustration level that he used to have when he was 7, 8, 9, I would say. So I think this works if you model it and kind of build it in, reminding people to learn. Yeah, Laura, I see the comments from 2 Lauras here in the chat. That's great. Yeah, remind learners. Yeah, reminding learners why they're here. They're here to learn. Yeah, that's great. So I think these are some helpful strategies for combating fear. I don't think these get talked about enough, this kind of idea of this attitudinal thing. So I just wanted to talk about it a little bit. So in summary, again, just reiterating sort of the difference between skills, right? So the ability to use information, again, those keywords, verbs, find, evaluate, create, and communicate, all right? They're more technical. And then resilience is having a broader awareness. Yes, it includes skills, but it's a more flexible, it's a more, I don't know. Yes, I know I can do this one thing in this one app, but maybe my confidence is so that I could do that thing in 20 different apps or in 20 different applications. And improving our capacity to problem solve, upskill on our own, navigate all the transformations that will be happening for the rest of our lives, so that we can participate in society and the economy. It's kind of a broader idea. Yeah, let's just talk about this, just a quick example, and then I'm going to show you something that, just another specific example real quick after this. But one quick example. So digital literacy instruction might include just teaching the learners to scan their email inbox, right? Okay, so if their inbox is up on their screen, they'll see the sender, the subject, the date, time, and if the email includes any attachments. That's really about it. Okay, and then a checkbox, or if it's under any labels, but a new email. Those are basically what you can teach them to scan for. Okay, it's very explicit. They should know to look for those things, how to scan their email inbox by looking at those 4 data pieces. Okay, that's very clear. It's very explicit. This button does this. If you do this, it does this. Digital resilience instruction might include teaching them the context and text clues. So once they are able to scan an email, opening an email and reading it, scanning for something more in depth, like how to remove unwanted junk email, phishing, spam, right? And there's a lot of different ways to do that, right? You can unsubscribe, you can report, you can block. There's a lot of different ways to do that, and there's a lot of different types of email that would fall under these categories. It's more complicated. There's more options, but taking more time to look at a bunch of different examples helps learners broaden their understanding of what types of things, what types of emails would be potentially unwanted or harmful. And by doing that, by taking the time, maybe a little bit more time, hopefully it builds their capacity to, in the future, when they get that ad or that junk mail or that spam email, recognize it quickly and know what their options are. Again, a slight shift from this button does this, this is where this is, to more higher level skills. Okay, an example for the real world. Okay, all jobs applications are online. Okay, most. All right, and they require all kinds of digital form skills to fill out, attaching, uploading, all that stuff. So digital skills, right? Filling out an online form, attaching, uploading. Okay. But practicing in class with different kinds of forms. So one might be a Google form, one might be a work app, like a real life work application. One might be a survey that comes in an email from I don't know, you ordered Papa John's pizza and they email you a follow-up survey. Showing students all kinds of different forms and talking about how they're the same and how they might be different, but common things to look for. That's part of, I would say, digital resilience, is building their confidence so that when they see, oh, this is a form. Okay, this one's asking for my opinion. This one's an application. This one is a survey. And they're more confident because they've been exposed to a broader range of questions. They've been exposed to maybe a form that is only one page at a time versus one that just scrolls forever, right? Like Google Forms go up and down mostly, but a lot of surveys are just one page at a time, or sometimes they scroll left and right. So just exposing them to a broader range of types of forms or applications will help them in their real life when they're filling out online forms, including job applications, or all the forms they have to fill out for any support services that may come from even your school or your county or state. So kind of just a real world example of how we can prep them for things that we know they're going to encounter. All right, I'm hoping you'll chat with me right now. I'm wondering if you can articulate the difference between digital literacy and resilience. What's different? What might be the same? Which one might be more challenging to teach and why? Okay. So let's just talk about that first question for a second. If anybody wants to turn on their mic and just, what's going through your mind? Can you articulate the difference? If you were to leave here today and someone were to quiz you and say, or a colleague may ask you, hey, do you know the difference between digital literacy and digital resilience? Go ahead, turn your mic, use the chat. Let's take a minute.
Sure. I don't know, best I can articulate is that digital literacy is maybe kind of comparable to being able to read all of the words in a sentence or a paragraph and maybe kind of beginning to understand what exactly is being said. But digital resilience is being able to fully understand, like really get into the nuance of what's being written and I don't know, ditching the metaphor, but basically just digital resilience has more to do with that confidence and the ability to take the skills that you have and kind of see how they apply in other situations. And it's more about like confident navigation rather than just how to do the one skill.
Exactly. Love that. Great. Some people are chatting. Thank you, Nick. Yeah, if you guys could look at the chat again, I don't want to read everything out, but Jeffrey, I like your analogy there. Right.
Maybe read a couple, Adam, just for those listening.
Yeah, I like Jeff's analogy here. Digital literacy is giving a horse a bucket of water so it can drink for a day. And digital resiliency is teaching a horse how to find water so it can drink in a sustainable way. I like that. Thanks, Jeffrey. Yeah, resilience is willingness. I like that word, willingness. Yeah, to explore and use new technology. Right, they're not giving up. They're going to persist. That's a key word. Figuring things out, even though things are constantly changing. Yeah. All right. Well,
I think it's like setting expectations too, because digital literacy, people think they just have to learn it once, but if you set the expectation that this stuff is always changing, and part of surviving is going with the flow and just expecting it to change, and that's okay.
I love that. Yeah. Sometimes I'll say this to my colleagues who get frustrated sometimes, and I'll say, yeah, I get frustrated too, but technology is not going away. It's here for the rest of our lives. All right, let's move on to the second question. What would you say, thinking about your own instruction, or if you're administrator or support staff, your own program, what would you say that your instruction or your classes currently focus more on? What do you focus more on? Digital literacy or digital resilience, and why? And then second question, follow-up question. What, if anything, would you like to change about how you do your instruction or your program does embeds digital literacy skills and digital resilience instruction education? So again, feel free to turn your mic. All right, Nick's ready in the chat here. Digital literacy, because our students are focusing on learning English in tandem with learning how to use technology. I'd like to work to make digital resilience feel more attainable for them. Great, thanks, Nick.
Christy has her hand up.
Oh, I didn't see that. Thank you. Go ahead.
Hi, I'm struggling with, we're trying to get my students to be digitally literate, but if they don't get the resilience part first, they're not succeeding with the digital lit part. And that's what I want us to work on, is coming up with a better orientation plan and a way to build that resilience first so that they can get that more important second piece.
I love that. Yeah, so maybe it starts with the attitude and the willingness, and then the learning can flow from that. Yeah, I love that. Kind of putting them the opposite way. All right, well, this is the last question is why? I mean, I feel like this is an obvious question, but can someone just say it aloud? You know, why, besides the mandate to include digital Northstar, digital literacy skills in all that we do, just think about your own life, maybe. Why teach this stuff? Why learn this stuff? Why spend time trying to develop digital resilience in our adult learners?
Because digital resilience doesn't just help you with, it's kind of, as you said, the technology is not going anywhere and it keeps updating and changing slightly. And that digital resilience helps you not only with whatever current generation of technology you're on, but it also kind of like builds a foundation of digital skills that will help you navigate for, I don't know, different softwares or hardwares or whatever that comes down the line in terms of technology. You like you will have a baseline to help you navigate through that.
Yeah, thank you. Becky writes, computers are all a little different. Yeah, our devices are all different, right? Think about how many different tablets and phones there are. Exactly. Yeah, I mean, we see our learners for a relatively short portion of their lives. And hopefully in that short person, we can build confidence across all their learning, and including their digital learning, because that's as an essential component as any part of their learning. Anybody else have oh yeah, please go ahead.
It also improves the community as a whole. Once you teach digital skills, it improves the older adults, as well as it can improve the college age and middle age to be more experienced within digital literacy. And having digital resiliency also uh, gives confidence to the community as well, to that they do have someone that they can go to if they did need digital skills or digital readiness. I think that helps also within the community, and also improves the job situation in certain communities as well.
Yeah, exactly. If a community is more literate across whatever spectrum, right? If they're able to access things digitally on their own with confidence, that community is going to benefit. They're going to benefit. Their family's going to benefit. Their kids are going to benefit. Thank you, Marcus. That was great. 100% agree. All right. Well, so how do we do this? One of the best ways to build not only skills but resilience is through using EdTech tools. Okay, those are things like the things we use all the time. The Padlets, okay, the Google Classrooms, the digital whiteboards, all of the digital tools that we use, and building routines with them so that students who come to your class, they have an an orientation and an on-ramp to whatever digital tools that you use regularly. Okay, maybe Desmos is another popular one. There's so many of them out there. All right, whatever you use to aid your instruction and to aid their learning is building a routine so that they come to class, and after a couple classes, they're good. They know how to use all the resources in Google Meet. They know what buttons to click where in Desmos. They know how to turn in their assignment, their daily assignment on Google Classroom. They know how to click the submit button on your Google form. Routines are things that before the digital age that educators depended on for ease, just daily ease of instruction, so that the task doesn't get in the way of the learning and the assessment, right? So same thing, we don't want the technology to get in the way, so we use the same tools over and over in similar ways so that they can get used to them quickly. Students who have been in the class longer can reach over and point or show them, or if you're online class, you can model very easily where things need to happen. Routines are the best. And just a quick plug for the best cohort. Okay, this coming up. There's I think probably this winter, where there's a cohort being offered called Best. And it's all about how you do this. And actually, you build a couple routines during the cohort. And I think it would benefit anyone. I facilitated this cohort 2 years ago. I have benefited from myself. I think it's a super great idea to learn about different people's routines and best practices, and then build some yourself. Northstar offers a bunch of examples, okay, of how to build a digital routine in your classroom. So you already have access to this, even though you may not know it, okay? So if you want to self-teach yourself, there's a bunch of examples here. It's sort of a curriculum in its own way. Again, this is just a resource from the Northstar curriculum once you log in as a teacher. Yeah, thank you, Elizabeth. Building an EdTech strategy toolkit. That's what the acronym stands for. Thank you so much. She put that in the chat there. So here's a cool little, I don't know, this might be the font might be too small, but you don't have to, I'm not asking you to memorize this. I'm not going to test you on this, but just letting you know that this is a resource available to you right now, that Northstar has this kind of self-paced teaching on how to build essential skills with routines, with whatever tools you're using, or to find a new tool and then how to implement it. So that's available for you. I'm not going to spend too much time on that. The key thing here is repeat, so students get comfortable, you're comfortable. All right, well, what about all the unique contexts that we encounter in ABE? Well, we got really low ELLs, and it's not always true that because their English skills might be low, that their tech skills are also low, but sometimes the correlation is strong. And so there are some, besides Northstar, there are a couple other resources. One of them is called Dart. I'm just going to quickly show you this, okay? And this even starts with the alphabet on the keyboard, okay? Things like capital letters and lowercase letters, all right? Arrows on the keyboard. Everything is here for you to download. Teaching materials, bingo cards, okay? Everything's there for you. This is a free curriculum. I think it was developed in Texas, yes. Digital access and resilience. There's that word. Let me zoom in. You probably can't see it. Digital access and resilience in Texas. But this resource is so great. We're recommending it for everyone. So you can see different lessons. Okay, they start really, really basic. Connecting to the internet using Google Chrome, online accounts, strong passwords. These might even be a little bit starting a little bit lower than Northstar. Okay, so I highly recommend this as a resource. Again, if you've never heard of it, great. I hope you take some time to explore it, especially if you're teaching low-level ELLs or people with very low digital literacy skills. It's one resource. Those without internet access, such as our colleagues in the DOC, again, everything in Dart is printable. Everything on Northstar has printable materials. Okay, so things can be handed out, even though it might be a picture of a keyboard or a picture of a computer or a picture of a website. So a lot of these resources for lower level learners, they have PDFs. You can print stuff out, physically hand it out. If people don't have, if you're in a one-room schoolhouse situation or a multi-level class, students can, students can work on Northstar online learning modules. So for example, if you have higher level learners that could be working on the digital footprint, okay, or the one about job search. But if they're lower level, they could be working on using internet basics or computer basics or email. So you can have different students working on different things at different times. Learners can work in pairs. I love doing that on the same device, having them negotiate what to do next, helping them support each other, even if they speak the same language, sometimes helping them understand in their first language. I love that. These are some resources that you can check out in the future. Again, this is only a 1-hour session. Each of these could easily have their own 1-hour session, but they're here for you to explore if they're new to you. Well, what can it look like, again, with no devices or the internet? Well, teachers can always model, right? They can always project their device on the board, or if you're, and so students could get a chance that way. They can bring their own devices to class if your program doesn't have enough to go around. You can always teach vocabulary and concepts with handouts, with pictures, okay, even though they might not have access to a device in front of them. And then a lot of times, like, some of these programs can be downloaded so that they're like in their own standalone space, so that they're not, even though they're not connected to the internet, they can still have access to the whole program. I'm thinking of, like, for example, maybe the Microsoft products. I know everything's Microsoft 365 sometimes, but you can still work in a document, save it on the computer the old school way, right? Without internet access, and then still show people progress. I know Google Docs can be worked on offline, and then the next time that device is connected, it'll update. So there's possibilities, not for everything, I know, of course, but if you have learners with no access, there are some workarounds, there are possibilities. And if you're not sure, you can always Google, right? Can I do this offline? Can this resource be used offline? Or sometimes just even using the contact on a website. If you find a resource or a digital tool, sometimes you can even contact them and say, is this possible to use on a computer, but that's not connected to the internet? Or do you have PDFs of this? Or do you have an offline version of this? And many times people do. I'm just even thinking about, like, Read Theory, right? Read Theory is one of our approved distance learning platforms. The free version, they have a number of free stories you can download as PDFs. The stories, they have the stories, the assessment, the questions, and then a writing prompt. So it's all in one. And then if you pay a little bit of money, you can get access to all of theirs. There are hundreds and hundreds and maybe thousands of stories now. And then those can all be printed offline. So sometimes companies have more than you expect. Just got to dig a little bit. Modeling is, of course, the best way. As you're showing your screen, even if students don't have devices with them, modeling, talking through what you're doing, where you're clicking, going really slow, teaching those words explicitly, edit, cut, paste, pointing out the icon, and maybe taking it a step further and saying, hey, here's the undo button. It's a left arrow. Let's look at a whole bunch of other stuff. And the arrows might look different, but they're probably always pointing to the left. And so they can begin to have that, oh, if I see that type of icon across multiple different apps and programs, it probably means the same thing. Things like the setting icon is almost always a gear, right? But every company likes to make their own version of that icon. And so there's thousands of different versions of that gear icon, but it almost always means settings. And so pointing that stuff out, learning explicitly, teaching that language, you can all do that from the board. Again, as you're modeling, asking people, where should I click next? Where should I go next? What do you think? Putting it back on them to guide you through whatever your instruction is. All right. So it's possible. Again, teaching vocabulary, kind of talked about this a little bit. Search terms, yeah, all this stuff. We need to take the time to teach this explicitly. Again, this is skills, and then both the skills of the different parts of the address, but then broader than that, expanding our concepts when we get into more complicated tools like a Chat GPT. Some other things you can practice with the internet, covered some of these already, but you can put a keyboard on a piece of paper. It's not quite the same. If you can get access to some mice, you can hand out some mice. Hand them out, or if they have a device they can plug in, then you could try on a Word document or some kind of document. Basic troubleshooting, like the physical hardware, you could model, right? Or you can teach if they have device but no internet. Everything on the keyboard, all the buttons, all the inputs. A lot of students may not know the difference between SD card, HDMI, USB, USB-C. Okay, even I get confused sometimes. Lightning port, which is going away now, of course. Using math manipulatives, on-screen calculators. I'm thinking specifically of my GED math students that I teach every day. I spend a lot of time teaching them how to use their GED calculator, and then the on-screen one, which pops up during the GED test, the GED math test. Yeah, Helen, I see your comment too. Helen says, and teaching them how to use Google to ask questions when you can't figure something out. Yeah, again, if you have internet access, yes, absolutely. Again, we've talked about offline documents you can use. So there's possibilities. Of course, you're limited. Of course, we know that, but doesn't mean we should give up or not try. So strategies. What does it look like? Well, show, don't tell. Okay. Demonstrate, make a screencast, make a screenshot, make a GIF, make a short video. This is what this is the way everyone's learning now. Short, right? Our attention span is short now. So make short stuff people can learn. For our students, they can watch again and again. That's really helpful for me. I'm an evangelist for screencasts. If you know me at all, I may have sent you a screencast about how to do something rather than we're writing a wall of text in an email. I love screencasts. Chunk content, keep it small, smarty pants. Take time to teach vocabulary. Talked about that. You really need to do that for ELLs and actually sometimes for all learners. They may not know the specific word for a part or a verb or something. Might not know the difference between an attachment or a link, or what that difference between the icons. If you can, plan lessons and in-class activities with differentiated options. So if you're teaching something on email, we'll give 3 tasks or 2 tasks for your lower level or those with lower skills, and give 4 tasks that are more complicated for your higher level learners. Or one person can do something on paper, other person can go online and do it on the digital version of that site. If you can, it's always a great idea to differentiate. We all probably do this, pairing advanced learners with developing learners. I do this all the time. Students can bring their own devices, and then with questions, I love this. This can be anything. Like, so for example, even in my GED math class, students having trouble with Khan Academy on their phone. All right, well, it turns out they're logged in with their wrong Gmail. So I'll project, with their permission, I'll project their phone up on the screen and I'll put it to them. Where's she going wrong? Where's this? What's happening? Why can't she get to this? And I'll put it to the class. Or students bring their phone and why can't they get emails? Oh, look at this red line on top of your email that says your Google storage is full, or whatever it says. What does that mean? Okay, let's talk about it together. Let's troubleshoot this together. I love that when students bring their own devices with their own questions or their own problems. I think that's always worth taking time out of class to navigate together. To do some of that, you do need to have some screen mirroring hardware or software. So like at my school, we're fortunate we have Apple TV boxes connected to most of our projectors, but I know not everyone has that. They are getting more and more affordable though. And I know schools do get discounts. But if you don't have Apple devices, you can use a program called Reflector. I think it's $20 per person, but there might be bulk discounts. Reflector is just an app that goes on your computer, and then as long as the computer and the other device are on the same Wi-Fi network, you can project that device on your screen. So I use it all the time when I'm teaching online. I might project my actual iPhone on the screen so that I can talk through what it looks like on the app, or you know what I mean? If you're because they always look different, the app and the website. Or where to find the setting to turn off that pop-up so that the site, you can fill out the form or whatever. Reflector is a great one. Again, the link to that is in these slides, which you have access to on the flyer, okay? And then I love this resource. You'll be hearing about it more. Bridges, building bridges to digital resilience. If you're interested in bridges, there's this 26-minute video from World Education about what it is and building digital resilience. This is a great video. Might be faster than exploring the resource on your own by yourself. But Elizabeth says, right, you can also start a meeting for yourself. Join yourself and record the meeting. Yeah, way to hack it. That's great. Okay, we're on 5 minutes here. All right. So I want to get through one last example before we get out of the way. Okay. Or we get out of here. So this is an example of teaching a digital literacy skill and resilience, hopefully at the same time. Okay. So how to teach students to unsubscribe? Well, you can project your email up on the screen. Okay, this is an internet connected classroom with a digital projector. Okay, so just setting the context. So just giving you a quick example of what this may look like. All right, again, moving from digital skills to resilience. Okay, open an email, find an email with the word unsubscribe. Okay, click through the unsubscribe process. Okay, follow all the steps. Okay, and then maybe show them again on your phone or your tablet, and then put it back to them. Let them try to find an email that they want to unsubscribe from, and let them try to do it, and then show you that hey, yes, I unsubscribe. Okay, if the student gets stuck, with their permission, always ask permission, of course. Take their phone, project it up, okay, on the screen, and troubleshoot as a class. All right, so what it might look like, okay, is teaching them the word unsubscribe, sounding it out, have them writing it, and then have pointing it out. You know, I blew up a screenshot of what it looks like on my computer. All right, and then also telling them, look, it might not be at the top, it might be way at the bottom. Okay, again, noticing it is underlined, but it's not, it's very small font at the bottom. What happens is usually another step. You usually have to go to another site, and they're going to ask you another question. And yes, you have to click maybe 2 or 3 more times. Okay, so don't give up, right? And then you may see other phrases, right? And you may need to teach these. Unfollow, update your preferences. In this case, the word unsubscribe is not the link. The link is the words clicking here. So pointing that out to them. Again, this is moving from the specific skill of the word unsubscribe to a broader, to more options that they may see. Okay. And building their resilience to say, oh, okay, I shouldn't give up if I just don't see the word unsubscribe. I know that there's a way to stop this email, but it may not be the exact word unsubscribe, or it may not be where the first place I learned to look. Okay, to remove yourself, click on the link below. All right, so just again, moving from just the explicit skill of unsubscribe, broadening their exposure, and telling them to, you might have to click 2 or 3 more things to persist and not give up. Okay, again, showing on a phone, pointing out it might be 2 steps. For example, on an iPhone, they usually put it right at the top. If you're using the iPhone Mail app, but on an Android phone, you might have to click on the settings in order to find it. Okay. Make a little screencast that can watch over and over. I made a little screencast here. We don't have time. We've got 1 minute left. Differentiation. Okay. So for the advanced learners, they can do 1 through 3 or 1 through 5. Or for the beginning learners, they can do 1 through 3. The medium learners, they can do 1 through 5. The advanced learners, they can do 1 through 7. All right. So just a couple quick examples. I hate to rush through this, but I know we're out of time. All right, Elizabeth, are you able to chat out the CEU link?
Yep, will do.
Okay. All right, we're out of time. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for your participation. Elizabeth's going to chat out the CEU link right now, the participation link. I appreciate you guys, and we'll see you in session 4 in 15 minutes. Or some of you. All right, thanks. Yep, she just